He predicted his own death. He survived 5 bullets, but he could not survive betrayal. Today, we are not talking about the biography of Tupac Shakur. Everyone knows that. Today, we are talking about the true black monk, the betrayed philosopher, and the hero we lost to the very glory we gave him. There is one truth many forget when they talk about Tupac. He was a reflection of all of us with our love. We lifted him to an unreachable sky, but in that sky, only loneliness and betrayal awaited him. In this journey, we will examine the price Tupac paid as he rose from poverty to greatness. His success did not bring him peace. His success was a war. From the home of the Black Panthers to the stage of death. From great honor to horrific betrayal. Tupac Shakur, the rose that grew from concrete. Let's start the story from the roots. Tupac's story begins before he was even born. His mother, Afeni Shakur, was an active member of the Black Panthers. While Tupac was in her womb, she was in prison for her rebellion against the government. Think about this. Before Tupac even saw the world, he knew the injustice and the prisons within it. He was conceived in a struggle for freedom and born in the mud of poverty. Many ask, why did rebellion? The answer is simple. Rebellion was in his blood. The greatest lesson his mother taught him from prison was, if you don't demand your place in this world, no one will give it to you. But no one knew that this seed of heroism was clearing the path for the poison of betrayal to come. In his childhood, Tupac was caught between a love for art and the life of the streets. While he had the blood of a lion, he wanted to be a gentle art student. This internal conflict was a war that lasted until the end of his life. Let me ask you a question. How did a young man studying Shakespearean poetry and ballet become the symbol of the world's most feared thug life? Today, we investigate that mysterious transformation when Tupac entered the Baltimore School for the Arts. What he found was not fame. It was a sanctuary. Despite the poverty at home and his mother's struggle with addiction, in that school he was an actor, a poet, and a painter. A truth many of you don't know is that during that time, Tupac was a very gentle boy, devoted to art. But life does not always allow us to be who we love. When Tupac left school and returned to his neighborhood, it wasn't Shakespeare waiting for him, it was the law of the streets. This is where the big lesson begins. Tupac realized he had to wear a mask to protect himself. That mask was toughness. That period where he tried to reconcile art and the streets created a deep fracture within him. Remember his poem, The Rose That Grew From Concrete. What's amazing isn't just that the rose grew in the middle of concrete, but that without anyone's help, it managed to breathe fresh air without damaging its petals. Tupac was that rose, but the concrete the streets made his thorns grow more than his petals. See, in our own lives, we often change our identity to protect ourselves. Tupac did the same when he joined Digital Underground. He started as a dancer, but when he grabbed the microphone, no one could extinguish the fire inside him. But when fame arrived, it brought a different test. Success didn't come alone. Success brought enemies. At a young age, Tupac began managing the worlds. Love on one side and the suspicion of the police on the other. What was the price he paid? The price was sacrificing his natural gentleness for the toughness of the streets. 5 bullets, bullets that hit the body can heal, but a bullet of betrayal from a best friend has no cure. On that night, Tupac lost more blood. He lost his faith in humanity. November 30th, 1994, New York City was gripped by cold. As Tupac Shakur headed to Quad Recording Studios, all he expected was to record new music. But at the elevator door, the shadow of death was waiting. Gunmen shot him. 5 bullets tore through his body. But Tupac did not die. Miraculously, he survived. However, what he saw when he entered the studio hurt him more than the bullets. His close friends Biggie Smalls and Puff Daddy were there. The way they looked at him in shock sowed the seeds of suspicion. Let us stop and think. How do we feel when we realize the people we love have a hand in our downfall? Tupac understood a heavy truth in that moment. As your fame increases, so does the jealousy of your friends. This is where the concept of biting the hand that feeds you begins. Following the attack, Tupac was immediately sent to prison, while his body burned with wounds and his heart bled with betrayal. He was locked behind the walls of loneliness. During his time in prison, he began reading the books of the philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli. The gentle, art-loving young man was gone. In his place, a new Tupac was born, one who planned how to destroy his enemies. Full of suspicion and trusting no one, we said success did not bring him peace. In fact, his success opened the door to betrayal. Tupac realized something in prison. The world only respects the strong. So, he buried his gentleness and decided to tighten his grip on thug life. When Suge Knight came inside for his release, Tupac found his freedom. But that freedom came with a heavy sacrifice. He surrendered his soul to a ruthless organization called Death Row Records. What happens when a man sells his soul to the devil to gain his freedom? Tupac didn't leave prison by breaking down the door. He was signed out. That contract allowed him to conquer the world. But it also started the countdown to his death. Late 1995, Tupac left prison with the help of Suge Knight. But he did not emerge as the poet he once was. Now, he was a soldier for Death Row Records, the most dangerous and powerful music organization. In just 2 weeks, he completed the historic album All Eyes on Me. The world was stunned with admiration. His fame reached beyond the sky. But inside this success was a deep poison. Tupac now began to openly insult, challenge, and declare war on his enemies. Let's stop and think. Does success make a person arrogant, or does it simply hide their inner wounds? Tupac was the latter. The wound of betrayal inside him caused him to fill with anger and hatred. The conflict between the East Coast and the West Coast made Tupac the center of the fire. And he is the blessing. The life Tupac was leading now was not his true identity. He had become Suge Knight's shield. We said success did not bring him peace. In fact, wherever he went, armed guards, police surveillance, and death threats followed him. While he sung arena, the world rode with him. But in his moments of loneliness, he knew his death was approaching. In his interviews, he would say, "I know I won't live past 30. Why? Because he knew the war he started would end in destruction. Standing at the peak of success, when he looked down, he didn't see the applause of his friends. He saw the preparations of his enemies. In our lives, we get what we want. Do we ever ask, will this price be? Tupac paid the price. Under the lights of Las Vegas, death had an appointment. When Tupac Shakur was shot, he wasn't alone. The world was with him, but no one could save him. Today, we talk not about the hero's death, but about the empty pedestal he left behind. September 7th, 1996, Tupac was leaving a boxing match in Las Vegas. On that night, Tupac seemed very happy, but he didn't know that this joy was the end of the struggle that began in prison before his birth. A white Cadillac pulled up beside them. Shots were fired as Tupac tried to shield Suge Knight, for bullets pierced his body. For 6 days, Tupac fought death in the hospital. Miraculously, in his final moments, he turned his face to his mother, and instead of saying, "I love you," he entered a silence that seemed to say, "My rest has arrived." When Tupac died, he was only 25 years old. Think about it. At 25, he shook the world, made history, and died as a sacrifice. We said we lifted him to the sky with our love, but that sky was too heavy for Tupac. Many still argue the murder, but the true killer was not the bullet. The true killer was the politics of hate we created, the betrayal of his friends, and the jealousy that success brought. Tupac died as a victim of those who bit the hand that fed them. Now, the pedestal is empty. Since Tupac's death, many have tried to take his place, but no one could. Why? Because Tupac died not for fame, but for the truth he believed in. He showed us through his life that success does not bring peace. Success is a war. Tupac once said, "I'm not a hero. I'm just a man who struggles." To this day, when his music is heard, the pain and hope of a generation are heard with it. When the heroes we put on pedestals fall, we fall with them. But the question is this: what are you willing to trade for your success? Your peace? Your friends? Or your soul? Tupac paid it all. Tupac Shakur, the rose that grew from concrete, has finally withered, but its scent still fills the world today. How do you feel about Tupac? Who do you think was the real killer? Betrayal or the bullet? Write your thoughts in the comments. For the next video, whose story do you want us to analyze? Until then, seek peace within your success.